I was just a normal person, living life, more reactive with the outside world and things in it. And what happened is we were deployed in 1997, so it was a while ago, down to the Antarctic Ocean to board illegal fishing vessels. So there was the clearance diving branch, and there was a special forces branch. And basically what happened was we were to board vessels that were illegally raping the oceans, pretty much. And what happened is we would, to leave our Navy frigate and board the vessel, we would lower a boat. It was called a rigid inflatable boat. It'd come alongside the ship. They hook up a shackle, and because the ship's moving at about 10 knots, it pulls the boat up nice and close. But the swells were huge, so the boat was doing this that we were supposed to get down into. So rather than climb down a ladder with the boat going up and down and risking everyone's lives, they rigged up what was called a fast rope, which is a big, thick rope that goes from the top of the ship all the way down the side, and it goes into the boat that's being towed alongside. First lot of guys flung down the boat. You can't stop. It's just more of a guide to take you through it. Down into the boat. First lot of guys went, there's about 6 or 7 of them. The boat unhooks and goes behind the Navy ship. Second boat comes along, and I'm the first down. So as I jump out to slide down the rope, the shackle that was pulling the boat alongside snapped. And so the boat that was getting pulled alongside started slipping backwards, and I've gone straight into the water. So we were wearing big snowsuits, snow boots, backpacks, sledgehammers, weapons, everything to board these ships. So I was pretty heavy, and I was dragged along the side of the ship in this weather. And obviously my hands were letting go, of the rope. And I ended up slipping downwards into the water. And remember, it was so cold, I sucked in a lot of water, popped up at the surface, and the ship was sailing along past me. So I remember looking up and seeing the massive grey wall of the hull as it was going along, and I was struggling to stay on the surface. And I looked down to the left, and there was the churning of the propellers. So the panic entered my mind, my whole body actually. It was just panic of, I'm going to get chopped up here. And sure enough, as I went through, got sucked under the ship. So I was thrashing out, trying to fight my way out of wherever I was. My right leg hit the bottom of the hull, and I pushed out and popped out the back behind the ship. And I remember the relief as I saw the ship sailing off in the Antarctic Ocean, because I wasn't chopped up. But then that brought on another problem. I was there in the middle of nowhere, and I was struggling up there. The whole incident took around 7 minutes. So because of the coldness, all my joints started freezing up, and the weight was pulling me under. I was drinking a lot more water. And this is where it all happened. So it seemed like this whole event took months. That's how time just stopped. However, as I was going under the water, drifting downwards in the Antarctic Ocean, it was all blackness, freezing my eyeballs, and I was sucking in all the water, and the panic just left me. The panic just went within a split second. And what I found was, I had my eyes open in the blackness, but then it felt as if a dark, thick ink of blackness just came over my eyes. And as it came over my eyes, I no longer existed as me. I felt straight away, because I couldn't see, like a lot of people talk about their NDEs and they see their bodies, and it just failed to exist anymore. And I was in this blackness, and I felt at peace. And then almost as if I was in the blackness in space, and I was just looking around, and I saw that light, this huge light, but the light wasn't directed at me. It was to the side, to the left, and standing in front of it, so the silhouettes, was about 11 or 12 entities. Just some were huge and others were, smaller. And they were just standing there, almost with hands out or just relaxed. And I'm talking about it now, I get these shivers up my spine, but I felt this intense energy come through and all around me. And the best way I could probably describe it is of love, over intense love and happiness. And I was just being. There was no purpose for this. I didn't know. I was just sort of taking it all in. No fear, just acceptance, overwhelming acceptance. And I just felt not happy, but I felt like I was home. I felt connected. And nothing existed in my life. So my family, nothing, no one that I'd crossed paths with, just nothing. It was just these beings now, and this overwhelming energy of just acceptance. And they were getting closer to me. So they were sort of getting closer, and it was like the silhouette of the light behind them. They started separating a bit, as if they're like, okay, it's time to come with us now. And I was just so happy. But I had no control. I was just going in that direction. And then I heard a voice. And I heard a voice that was like an angel's voice, a beautiful, soft, loving voice that kept saying over and over, "It's okay, darling. It's okay, darling. You can come back now. You can come back now." And it kept repeating. But it wasn't from that direction. It was from a different direction. It was like an echo. And I had no power on which direction to go to. There was just this patient love on this from these silhouettes. But then they got further away. And as they got further away, the voice started getting heavier and heavier. And then all of a sudden it was over, and I was in the boat and I'd woken up. So the guys had formed this human chain and pulled me out of the water without me knowing. And then I came to on the boat, and it was like, oh, gee, what just happened? It wasn't as if it was a major deal. It was just like, you fall off your bike or something happened. It's like, okay, let's keep going. Let's go and take this ship, because I still had all my weapons and all that sort of stuff. And then they called the boat and they said, no, he has to come back because he's been in the water a long time. And so we went back, and I don't know if you know anything about hypothermia, but you're supposed to remain in sort of like a fetal position because you lose all the blood from your extremities and it surrounds your organs to keep you alive. And there's me up there, getting off boats and all this sort of stuff. And then it happened again. I was in the officers' mess, which they'd made into an emergency sort of room. And there was people there that were trying to take off all the snowsuit and all this sort of stuff. And I was gone again. So I collapsed, because my body temperature had dropped to around 34 degrees. So my body was going through shock, and everything was starting to just shut down. I find myself back in that same place. So, but it was just like, yay, it was more excitement there, and they were quite close. Some of them I couldn't even see. They were so tall. And then that same voice, "Come back, darling, come back, it's okay." And I didn't know what direction that was. And rather than sadness as I was leaving them, there was just this patience, like hands open or hands crossing them, and just contentment as if, well, it's okay, we'll see you again. It's all good. I didn't know that at the time, but now I've analysed it and doing what I do, helping other people through consciousness, I can connect and it all the pieces come together. But at the time, the voice got louder and louder. And what was happening was one of the officers, who was a nurse, she was stroking my right palm saying, "Come back to me, darling, it's okay." And I've come back and I woke up, I opened my eyes and I saw her blue, the blue mask and everything that she had on, the most beautiful eyes, and I was like, oh, okay, this is where I am, because I had no control. I didn't say I want to go back, I want to go forward. And it felt like that whole time was, like I said, a month long. And I don't know how long it was. But when I woke up, they had a plastic blanket over me. We were pumping warm air into it, so my blood would slowly go back to my extremities. And then after that happened, quite a long time, like 4 to 5 hours or so, I went back to my rack, which was on the ship, and we had boarding parties again. So off we go, and this time we went by helicopter and down the rope, and that I nearly went in the ocean again there. It's a different story, but something was trying to lure me back to that side, but I locked off on the rope and I ended up getting over, and the mission was a success. Yeah, remembering we are spiritual beings before a physical being, 99% of it. So if I use thought and emotions, my world will just take me to that. That's how the universe works. It's not here to put blockages in front of you. You're doing that by all the labels that you accepted. So that's more than a few words of wisdom. I just want to say, open up your heart and live life through your heart. Even the most successful business clients of mine have succeeded in financial rewards, there's nothing wrong with that, because money is energy, isn't it? Humans created money, but it's energy still. It's a transfer of value. But they're so successful financially that relationships suffer. They're on their third divorce. The kids are, having their own troubles because dad's or mum's never home because they're working all these hours. So they bring that success from up here down to here. They become better people within themselves, for their kids, for the world. So and I teach them to live through their heart. What feels good to me? That I know I might miss out on making $100,000 for that particular deal, but I'm spending time with those I love, and that makes me feel good. So that enriches me so much. Yeah, we can talk about this for hours, and it can be very confusing, but just keep it simple. If I live through my heart, trust, big thing people suffer with is trust, self-trust. But if you have to understand how capable you are before you trust yourself. So open your heart. That would be my biggest, live through your heart, not your head. It's my purpose, and it's everyone's purpose, to learn, love and teach, be the best of themselves. Thank you for the opportunity. And I say this to everyone. I love you. I dearly love you, but not in a weird way, not in that human way, but in that feeling that I felt when I was in that state of just love. So have a great day, have a great life, and I'm always here. If you want, if someone's struggling, they can get in touch with me through email. It's just support@howsyourheadspace.com.au.